The man laughed when he saw Tiffany and Matthew. You really are a weirdo. You even brought these two strange-looking people into the casino. The woman standing beside the man leaned against him. Do you think everyone is as rich and successful as you are? Not everyone has the chance to be accompanied by a beautiful partner like me. Tiffany sized up the woman. If she weren't in disguise, this woman wouldn't have had the nerve to say that in front of her. Stephen couldn't be bothered to argue with the man. He handed his card to Matthew. Help me exchange my money for chips. The man laughed as he took out several big bags of chips. No need to bother the staff. I have lots of chips here. Tell me how much you want. Then why don't you give me 100 million worth of chips to start out? Stephen's bold answer attracted many people's attention. He's young. I'm guessing he's rich second-generation son from some unknown corporation. I don't think so. I don't recognize any of the brands he's wearing. They're probably dirt cheap. He's also here with two women who have no fashion sense. Agreed. I have a feeling he's a complete lunatic. The man stood up from the table. The chips he had were worth at most a few million. Asking for 100 million was the same as insulting him. Are you picking a fight? The woman by his side grabbed his arm. Darling, why bother with a fool? In my opinion, he's only talking big because he saw a pile of chips on the table. I doubt he has the money. Stephen ignored them and told Matthew to bring back some chips. Matthew disappeared into the crowd. He came back 3 minutes later, and there was nothing in his hands. The man laughed. Where are your chips? I knew you couldn't afford 100 million. However, he froze when the manager of the casino, George, walked over to Stephen with a box in his hand. There was a huge smile plastered on his face. Here are 100 chips. Each chip is worth 1 million. Tiffany took this chance to talk back to the man. See that? Your pile of chips are worth nothing compared to his. You think you're rich with 3 million? After today, I bet you won't ever see 100 million again. Just because he has the money doesn't mean he knows how to gamble. The man's partner shot back. Let's see what he'll do once he loses all his money. Stephen took a chip from the box that George had. May we begin? George asked. Any time, Stephen said. George nodded and gave the dealer a meaningful look. The dealer got the hint and shook the cups with the dice inside. Soon, he flipped the cup over and slammed it on the table. The left side of the table was labeled small, which represented the numbers 1, 2, and 3. The right side was labeled big, which represented the numbers 4, 5, and 6. Stephen motioned for the man to bet first. I have a feeling your luck's not that great. Make your bet. I'll choose the opposite. The man held in his anger and pushed his chips to the right side of the table. I'll bet 100 on big. Matthew leaned in and whispered, Stephen, should I ask the manager to give you smaller chips? If you use this one, it'll be worth 1 million. The man urged them to hurry up when he noticed them whispering. Why are you hesitating? Didn't you say you'd bet on the opposite side? The entire casino waited for Stephen's answer. They were curious as to how much he would bet. To everyone's surprise, Stephen took the box and poured all the chips onto the table. Then, he pushed the chips to the left side. I'll bet 100 million on small. Tiffany rushed back to the chips. Don't be hasty. Let's take it slow. There's no need to rush. When Stephen stopped her, she glared at him. Where are you getting your confidence from? I'm not confident in myself. I'm confident in his bad luck. When George saw Stephen bet 100 million in chips, his smile widened. He secretly gave the dealer another look. The dealer subtly reached for a switch under the table before placing a hand on the cup. After this, he would receive a big commission. His manager might raise his salary, and he might even be promoted. Tiffany covered her face with her hands. She was too afraid to look at the dice. The onlookers held their breath as they stared at the cup. When the dealer removed the cup, he was so shocked to see the number 3 on the dice. He announced the result with a slight tremble to his voice. It's small. Everyone started talking at once. Isn't that guy way too lucky? He even bet 100 million like it was chump change. I'll never be able to earn 100 million in my life. Who exactly is he? Why haven't I seen him before in San Francisco? George didn't expect this outcome. If the casinos were to lose 100 million, he would probably lose his life. He forced a laugh. Luck is on your side today. Why don't you have another round? Stephen glanced at the man. That will depend on him. When the man hesitated, George glared at him. The man was well aware of who was behind this casino, so he wasn't in a position to refuse. I'll bet 10,000 on big. Since you've raised the stakes, I'll do the same. Stephen pushed his chips to the left side. I'll bet 200 million on small. Tiffany only had 5 minutes to savor the excitement of Stephen's win before he dropped 200 million worth of chips on the table. She hurriedly tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen. It'll be fine. His bad luck is endless, Stephen said casually. George narrowed his eyes at the dealer. This was his last chance. If something unexpected happened again, this would be the end. Begin. The dealer nervously shook the cup. After seeing Stephen win effortlessly the first time, many people at the casino crowded behind him and supported him. As for the man who had bet on big, he didn't think a small number would appear again. This would be his win. The dealer flipped the cup onto the table. He was once again shocked when he removed the cup and revealed the number. It was the number 1, another small number. You won again! Tiffany yelled excitedly. You're amazing, Stephen! Matthew looked on in shock. Since when was it this easy to earn money at a casino? The gamblers around them cheered for Stephen and mocked the man for losing twice in a row. George snapped his fingers, and several security guards surrounded the dealer. Throw him out and toss him into the sea. The security guards dragged the dealer out of the casino as instructed. George forced a smile and turned to Stephen. Your luck is impressive. Why don't you go for another round? Like I said, that will depend on if he wants to bet, Stephen said. The man broke out in a cold sweat when he saw the hint of warning in George's eyes. He silently cursed Stephen. He could bet however many times he wanted, but why did he have to drag other people into this? The man threw all of his chips onto the table and ran out of the casino with his partner. He valued his life over his money. Tiffany thought she had figured out Stephen's plan and was prepared for him to go all out in the same fashion. But instead of continuing with the same game, he placed his bets for another game. This time, I'll bet on the numbers of 3 dice. 1, 1, and 3. The onlookers shook their heads and sighed. He's crazy. Does he think this game's as easy as the last one? I've been going to casinos for decades, and I rarely see this game being played. He's inexperienced. Looks like he's getting ahead of himself because he won 2 times. Besides, doesn't he know how this casino operates? There's no way they'll let him win so easily. I like your confidence, George praised. He smirked as he walked behind the table and took on the dealer position. Everyone looked at Stephen with pity. Is George going to play? That young man will lose for sure. George has won every gambling competition for 3 consecutive years. They say that this year, he'll be participating in the international gambling competition. I thought that young man was smarter than this. Who knew he would turn out to be an amateur? I hope he doesn't cry when he loses later. Tiffany had also heard of George's fame. This is cheating. You already know this is his first time here. Don't you think this is unfair? George didn't pay her any mind as he put 3 dice into the cup. And why is that relevant? You know the rules of this casino, don't you? Matthew pulled Tiffany back. The security guards around them were watching their every move. Stop messing around. This casino has its own rules. If we cross the line, they'll use that as an excuse to get rid of us. Tiffany sighed helplessly. Stephen was too impulsive for his own good. Stephen tapped the table to get George's attention. What's with all the talking? Hurry up and shake it. Actually, hold on. I'm curious as to how wealthy this casino is. How about this? I'll bet 400 million. If I win, you'll have to give me 2 billion. George was hesitant. but he eventually gave in. Please wait, I'll have to check on the other 3 casinos' cash flow. Less than 1 hour later, George returned. Roland had approved his request for $2 billion. He showed Stephen the balance on his phone. See for yourself. Great, let's begin. George picked up the cups and shook the dice. His ears picked up on the distinct sound of the dice clacking against each other. I've been playing this game since I was 3. When I was 5, I could already hear the sound of the dice and their respective numbers. Do you really think you stand a chance against me? No matter how skilled you are, your bad luck is on par with my previous opponent. George had no interest in arguing with Stephen. He continued to shake the dice. The onlookers were blown away by his superb technique. George slammed the cup on the table, snapping everyone out of their trance. Would you believe me if I told you that I can guess the number of each dice? The first dice is 1. George moved the cup slightly, revealing the first dice. He was right. The second dice is also 1. George revealed the second dice. He was right again. You bet that the numbers would be 1, 1, and 3. So far, you got the first 2 correct. Unfortunately, the last dice won't be the number 3. George revealed the third dice. He didn't even have to look to confirm that Stephen had just lost the bet. I told you, you didn't stand a chance. You're too inexperienced to compete with a pro like me. Stephen grinned as he pointed to the dice. Are you blind? Why don't you take a closer look?
What's the point? I already know what it is. But when George looked down, he was shocked to see the number 3. How is this possible? The numbers should have been 1, 1, and 2. Why had the last number changed to a 3? George slammed his hands on the table, unwilling to admit defeat. Do you know what kind of place this is? How dare you cheat? This is a famous casino in the city, Stephen said. But who would have thought their staff would be sore losers? The dice, cups, and this table are yours. You're also the one who shook the dice. I have to ask, when could I have possibly had the chance to cheat? The other gamblers agreed with Stephen. He's right. He hasn't touched a single dice or cup the entire time. There's no way he cheated. George, are you trying to make this a big deal because you can't afford to lose? He won fair and square. A loss is a loss. Why would you accuse him of cheating? I didn't know this casino had such low standards. I don't think I'll be coming back. George clenched the cup in his hand. $2 billion was close to 3 years' worth of this casino's net profit. If he really gave Stephen the money, Roland would never let him go. But if he didn't hand it over, no one would be visiting this casino in the future. After weighing the pros and cons, George decided to compromise for the time being. I admit defeat. Give me your bank account number and I'll transfer the money. After receiving the necessary information, George wired $2 billion into Stephen's bank account through the casino's special bank system. When Stephen confirmed that the money had been sent, he stood up and prepared to leave. This won't be the last time we see each other, George warned. Stephen took out the hotel's business card from his pocket and put it on the table. This is where I'm staying. Feel free to come over for a chat. Very well. I'll take you up on your offer. After the 3 of them left, George hurried to the Black Dragon Guild. He had to apologize to Roland for losing the $2 billion. By the time Stephen returned to the hotel with Tiffany and Matthew, it was already late in the evening. Tiffany ran in front of Stephen and put her hands on her hips. I've always been lucky. You made a fortune today, and it was all thanks to my good luck. Don't you want to thank me? Stephen had relied on his own abilities to cheat the casino out of $2 billion. What did that have to do with her? Even so, he played along. All right, how do you want me to thank you? Let's go to a club. I know a great place that I haven't been to in a long time. You two go without me, Matthew said. I'm heading back to my room. It had been many years since the last time he was in San Francisco, and running into this many people from the Black Dragon Guild had brought back unpleasant memories. Stephen nodded in understanding. Okay, be careful. That left Stephen with no choice but to go with Tiffany. It hadn't been long since she was kidnapped, and he knew that she wouldn't listen to him if he told her to go home. 1 hour later, Stephen and Tiffany arrived at the bar. At the entrance, Tiffany removed her many layers and fixed her hair. When they went inside, the deafening music almost blasted Stephen's eardrums. As for Tiffany, she was excited to be here. She hadn't had a chance to stop by in years. Tiffany ran up to the stage and danced to the music. When she motioned for Stephen to join her, he shook his head. He was a little curious as to how Tiffany could have this many wildly different sides to her personality. Tiffany quickly became the center of attention. Several people went on stage to strike up a conversation, but she ignored them. While Tiffany was on stage, Stephen found a table away from the crowd. Not long after, a young man walked over. "This isn't a place for someone like you. If you know what's good for you, then hurry up and leave. This is Roland's territory." Stephen pretended to be surprised. "I've never heard of him, and I also have no idea who you are." The man frowned. "Well, I have been abroad for the past 3 years, so it makes sense that you don't recognize me. You only need to know one thing. I'm someone you shouldn't mess with." When Tiffany spotted them arguing from a distance, she hurried over and pulled Stephen to another table.
"Let's go sit over there."
The man didn't give up and followed them. He placed a few stacks of $100 bills on the table. "Are you letting your girl stand up for you? Here's $100,000. I bet you've never seen this kind of money in your entire life. Take it and Tiffany covered her mouth to suppress a laugh. She and Stephen were both amused by the piles of bills scattered on the tabletop. He had just won $2 billion from the casino. $100,000 was nothing. "Just hold on to your money. If you don't have anything important to say, clean up the table and leave. Don't bother us," Stephen said. "Doesn't this money mean anything to you?" Stephen ignored the man and raised his hand. "Manager, please bring your card reader over." The manager of the bar went up to them and held out the card reader. "Sir, what can I do for you?" Stephen looked up at the man. "Hey, didn't you say you had more money than me? Each of us will offer an amount to treat everyone here today. Let's see who'll end up with the highest amount. What do you say?" The manager grabbed the mic and announced that none of them would have to pay their bill tonight. Everyone excitedly gathered around Stephen and the man. Stephen and the man took turns to put their bank cards into the card reader and entered an amount. The manager cleared his throat and announced the amounts they offered. "Mr. Wilson offered $5 million. This is enough to cover a week's worth of expenses. Please enjoy to your heart's content. Next, we have Mr. Stephen. He offered..." The manager trailed off at the shocking amount. "Mr. Stephen offered $100 million. "It's not for the customers. I want to buy your bar." Stephen looked back at Tiffany. "Since you like this club so much, consider this as my gift for your good luck today." "You're not spending the money for the customers, so you've lost," the man pointed out. "Yeah, but so what? We never agreed to an official bet. As for the $5 million you spent, that's a small profit for my club." The man was furious at this revelation. "How dare you cheat me out of my money? Do you not know who I am? I'm Wilson Adams, and my dad is Roland Adams." Stephen and Tiffany looked at each other. Neither of them expected to bump into Roland's son tonight. Stephen stood up and pretended to be nervous. "So you are Mr. Roland's son. I'm very sorry for my rudeness." Wilson pushed Stephen aside and took his seat. "That's more like it. Let me give you some advice. Don't be so full of yourself. Just because you have some money, your life is more important." "I'll keep your words in mind. By the way, I heard your family owns most of the casinos in the city." "That's right. Do you think our income can be compared to your measly $100 million? Our casinos earn around $7 to $8 billion a year." "Really? I heard someone won $2 billion at one of your major casinos today. They only played 3 games." "Of course, $2 billion is nothing to our family." Wilson jumped out of his seat. "Wait, what did you just say? Someone played 3 games and won $2 billion?" Stephen nodded seriously. Yeah, I heard he wasn't alone. He was with 2 women. Wilson took out his phone and gave Roland a call. Dad, I heard someone won $2 billion at our casino. Is that true?
So, you remember that I'm your dad. You couldn't even bother to come home after coming back from abroad. Anyway, I already sent Keith to the hotel. Whoever it was will pay with their life,
Roland said coldly before hanging up. Wilson kicked a chair as he put his phone away. Damn, where did this guy come from? I have to take care of him myself. What a coincidence, Mr. Wilson. I'm actually the owner of the hotel he's staying at. Do you want me to take you there? Stephen offered politely. You have your uses. All right, I'll give you an opportunity to be my lackey. Lead the way. Wilson took the initiative and left the club first. Stephen turned to Tiffany. Don't come back to the hotel tonight. Go home. He followed after Wilson, despite her objections. It wouldn't be long until the members of the Black Dragon Guild surrounded the hotel. In the car, Wilson rambled on and on about how he would deal with the man who had won $2 billion. He would tear him apart and throw him into the ocean. Stephen took the chance to send a text to Matthew and Jack. When they arrived at the hotel, Wilson strode inside and walked towards the elevator. Why are you so slow? We don't have all night. Stephen pressed the button for their floor. I heard Mr. Roland sent someone named Keith to this hotel. Is he strong? Wilson glanced at him in disapproval. Are you ignorant, or have you been living under a rock? One of the main reasons why my dad was able to become the head of the Black Dragon Guild was because of Keith. He only needs one hand to crush. Back then, he killed at least 50 of Matthew's men. Keith, the man who had single-handedly massacred Matthew's subordinates, was Wilson's idol. When the elevator doors opened, Stephen led Wilson down the hallway. This will be over before midnight, he murmured with a smile. What did you just say? Stop mumbling to yourself. Are we there yet? Stephen stopped and pointed to the door next to them. We're here. This is his room. Instead of ringing the doorbell, Wilson kicked the door. After a moment, Matthew came outside. Stephen had led Wilson to Matthew's room rather than his own room. Are you the person who took $2 billion from my family? Wilson demanded. Matthew fixed his gaze on Wilson. He reminded him of Roland, the man he wanted to, even in his dreams. No, it wasn't me. If it wasn't you, then who was it? Without waiting for an answer, Wilson barged into the room and sat on the couch. It doesn't matter who it was. Keith will be coming soon. None of you will be leaving the hotel alive. Stephen no longer felt the need to pretend. Matthew, this just told me that it was Keith who killed more than 50 of your friends. Matthew clenched his fists as he remembered his fallen comrades. His nails dug into his palms, drawing blood. Wilson looked over in surprise. You're Matthew? That can't be right. My dad told me that you were... I survived thanks to luck, and I'm here to make you and your family pay your dues. It took one punch from Matthew for Wilson to pass out on the floor. At this time, Keith was standing in front of the hotel's entrance. The more time passes, the more useless Roland becomes. Taking care of a few gamblers who won big is a waste of me and my team's skills. Several of his team members were hiding in the hotel's vicinity. One of them revealed himself to give his report. Mr. Roland said he made all the preparations. The hotel is completely sealed off. No one will be able to leave. You may go in and deal with them. What a waste of time. Keith went inside the hotel and took the elevator up. Fortunately, it was getting late, so none of the guests were wandering around. Keith stopped in front of a room. You're in there, right, Matthew? Matthew's voice sounded from behind the door. It's been a while. Tonight, we'll settle our grudges. Keith laughed before kicking the door down. Dust clouded his vision. When he spotted a man moving in the corner, he lunged at him with inhuman speed and wrapped his fingers around his throat. Go to hell. The sound of bones shattering filled the room. Keith let go, and the body collapsed on the floor. He shook his head and sighed. What was the point in coming back? You walked straight into your grave.
The room became clearer as the dust settled. Keith paled when he recognized a familiar face. He had the neck of Roland's only son, Wilson. How was this possible? Wilson's eyes were wide open, and they stared directly into Keith's soul, as if he wanted to ask why he had done this to him. Stephen clapped his hands as he and Matthew emerged from the bedroom. The subordinate is boss's son. Imagine the heartbroken look on his face when he finds out. This will make the headlines tomorrow. Matthew, I didn't expect you to become someone's underling. Did you really think you could control me just because you've got my weakness? Even if Roland comes after me, I'm more than capable of him. Matthew resisted the urge to lunge at Keith and him on the spot. Even if I'll take you down with me. Keep dreaming, Keith said. In his eyes, Matthew and his companion were nothing more than insects beneath his feet. There were at least 800 people in the underworld who have said the same thing, but not a single person was a match for me. How about this? I'll give you a way to keep your life. All you have to do is your wrists and ankles. If you don't want to, I'll gladly make this your... It's your choice. Matthew steeled himself and rushed forward. Keith sidestepped and sent him flying. The difference in strength between him and Keith was too big. Keith turned to Stephen. It's your turn. Will you choose the way out, or will you choose the dead end? The dead end, Stephen replied with a smile. But I'm not making this choice for myself. It's for you. Good. Let's see if you can keep talking big after this is over. Stephen's gaze shifted to Keith's thumb. You sure are confident when your speed is nothing to brag about. Keith saw through his intention. He tried to pull his hand away, but to no avail. Stephen moved faster than Keith could react. In the next second, his thumb was... Keith dropped to the floor, overwhelmed with searing pain. His expression twisted into one of madness, and he made a strange sound. Matthew staggered to his feet. This is bad. That's a signal to his team. Dozens of black-robed figures swarmed into the room from the windows, balcony, and the doorway. Keith's team aimed their guns at Stephen and Matthew. Remember these people, Matthew? They don't fear, and they'll fight until the last breath. There's no escape for you or him. Matthew glanced at Stephen with an apologetic look in his eyes. Stephen was here only because he had insisted on taking revenge. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have gotten caught up in this. Don't worry, there's no such thing of not being afraid of... They'll understand the true meaning of fear the second before they die. To Keith, Stephen and Matthew were only delaying their inevitable end. However, the sound of gunfire never happened. Keith looked back with eyes wide in horror. Keith's team dropped to the floor without a sound. Good evening, boss. Matthew looked at Stephen in disbelief. He had already guessed that Stephen wasn't an ordinary person, but he didn't expect him to be someone this powerful. Keith's team was widely known for their combat prowess and cruel methods. They were even addressing him with respect. What's going on outside? Stephen asked. These people were their secondary guards of the palace. After arriving in San Francisco, he had asked Jack to have these guards patrol the streets. And tonight, they had arrived quickly after he sent a text to Jack in the car. There were a total of 7 groups affiliated with the Black Dragon Guild heading to the hotel. Each group consisted of approximately 40 people. All of them have been dealt with. In addition, we noticed a woman sneaking around at the entrance. When we questioned her, she said she was your acquaintance, so we didn't dare to act rashly without your instructions. The leader of the guards waved his hand, and a woman was brought into the room. It was Tiffany, and she was surprised when she found out that these people were Stephen's subordinates. Who knew the infamous, useless son-in-law of the Cassidy family in Los Angeles was hiding such a powerful identity? Stephen let out a sigh. Didn't I tell you to go home? He had sent her away because he knew that it would be dangerous at the hotel. But the main reason was because he was afraid that if she witnessed this in person,
She would go back to Los Angeles and talk nonsense with Kim. Tiffany crossed her arms.
I can go wherever I want.
Stephen ignored her and looked back at Matthew. Let's go see Roland. Matthew's gaze fell on Keith. All right, I want them to together. Stephen took out his phone and called Stanley. He made sure to lower the volume so that Keith wouldn't know who he was calling. Where's Roland? The moment Stanley heard Stephen's voice, he shouted into his phone. You scared me half to... When I heard that Roland wanted to get rid of you, I tried to call you, but you didn't pick up. I was so worried that... Cut the small talk and tell me where Roland is. My apologies. He's at a club. As soon as Stephen got his answer, he hung up and turned to Tiffany. Don't follow us. Just go home. Tiffany wanted to argue, but when she saw the serious look on his face, she could only do as he said. Okay, fine, but lend me your phone. I need to call someone to pick me up. You can't tell anyone about what happened today, Stephen warned as he held out his phone. Whatever. Tiffany snatched the phone and left the room. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Natalie barged into Kim's room and woke her up. Kim threw an arm over her face. Mom, it's late. Maybe Stephen's already asleep. I'll call him tomorrow. No, you have to call him today. You weren't here when the real estate agent came, so you don't know how embarrassing it was. We have to pay the property fees as soon as possible. I was wondering why Stephen didn't put up a fight when I kicked him out. Who knew he would try to take the owner of Global Investments' money for himself? Call him right now. If he doesn't want to come back, then tell him to transfer me the money. When Kim didn't respond, Natalie pulled off her blanket and put the phone in her hand. Get up and call him. Kim sat up in a huff. You're the one who told him to leave, and now you want him to come back? How shameless can you be? Look, the property fees are beyond what we can handle. Where are we supposed to come up with several million all of the sudden? Can't you call him for your mom's sake? Kim sighed in annoyance. Fine, I'm only going to call him once. Whether he comes back or not is up to him. Natalie broke into a smile. If her beautiful daughter were to call her good-for-nothing son-in-law, wouldn't he come running home? Kim was angry just thinking about how Stephen had left so willingly. He hadn't even bothered to call her, even once. She reluctantly gave him a call. The phone continued to ring, and no one answered. Kim showed the screen to Natalie. He's probably asleep. Wait a little longer. Finally, the call connected, but it wasn't Stephen's voice that greeted them.
Hello? Who's calling?
It was a woman's voice, and she sounded drowsy. Kim's eyes widened as she looked at Natalie. Why was a woman answering Stephen's phone? More importantly, it was almost midnight. Did he leave their house to look for another woman? Kim tried her best to remain calm. Who are you?
Hey, is there something wrong with you? You're the one who called. Shouldn't you introduce yourself first?
It was obvious that the woman was in a bad mood because Kim's call had woken her up. Where's Stephen? Tell him to answer the phone.
He's busy. I'll tell him to call you back tomorrow.
When the woman hung up, Kim's hand shook as she clutched the phone. She almost gave in to the urge to throw it across the room. Natalie was confused by her strange expression. What's wrong? Nothing. I called the wrong number. Natalie had more to say, but she swallowed her words when she saw how angry Kim was. Okay, you can call him tomorrow. After Natalie left the room, Kim buried her face in her pillow. Stephen had been acting strange lately, and whenever she questioned him, he never gave her a direct answer. Had he really left the house only to stay with another woman? At this time, Tiffany was in one of her family's cars. After she left the hotel, she had given her family a call, and they had sent a car over to pick her up. Tiffany had fallen asleep on the way home, but a call from a weird woman had woken her up. Before Tiffany could check the caller ID, the driver pulled up to the driveway. He was the Meyer family's butler, and he had watched Tiffany grow up. Miss Tiffany, we're here. You should hurry and see your father. He's been so worried that he hasn't gotten a wink of sleep. Okay, got it. Tiffany shoved the phone back into her pocket and stepped out of the car. When she went inside, she saw her father standing by the window. He looked like he had aged several years, even though it had only been a few days. Tiffany felt guilty for worrying him. She threw herself into his arms. Dad, I'm back! Her father, Jensen Meyer, was relieved to see that his daughter was safe. Do you know how worried I've been? You should have at least given me a call after you were rescued.
Sorry, I had some things to take care of, so I couldn't come back until now. Also, the people who kidnapped me took my phone, so I had no way to contact you.
Tiffany held out her hands. Are you hurt anywhere else? Stanley dared to lay a hand on my daughter. I won't let him off so easily.
I'm fine. Fortunately, someone came to save me. Otherwise, I might not have been able to come back in one piece.
Who was it? How did they save you? Tiffany told Jensen about her first meeting with Stephen in Los Angeles and their fateful encounter at the warehouse. She skipped over the details concerning the hotel. It didn't take long for Tiffany to bring him up to speed. Are you saying that a man you met twice handed over $1 billion just to save you? Jensen asked with a hint of doubt.
Yes, that's right, Dad. You have to thank Stephen for me.
Of course, I know how to repay someone, but it sounds like money won't be worth anything to him. Either way, after hearing what you've said about him, he can't be normal. You're not allowed to meet him again.
Why can't I see him again? Tiffany asked in confusion.
Just do as I say. From Jensen's tone, he clearly wouldn't be taking no for an answer. But Tiffany did just that.
No, if you don't want to help me, I'll thank him myself.
Tiffany, you still don't understand how ill-natured people can be. Someone who was willing to take out $1 billion for you must have had an ulterior motive. You were kidnapped. Does it make sense for someone you've only met twice to show up and save you?
Dad, he's not as bad as you make him out to be.
Jensen sighed. All right, it's late. Go upstairs. Don't worry about Roland. I'll find a way to deal with him. Tiffany recalled the bloody state of Matthew's hotel room.
I don't think you need to step in. Roland won't make it to tomorrow. He's dead for sure.
You're still too naive, Jensen said. Do you know who Roland is? He's the head of San Francisco's underworld. He has countless powerful subordinates under his command. Have you heard of Keith? His nickname is the Butcher. He's strong enough to crush people's throats with a single grip. He also works closely with a team who isn't afraid of death. Even I have to be careful when going up against him. Jensen knew that the Black Dragon Guild had been in San Francisco for dozens of years. Their network extended across the entire city. How could anyone get rid of an extensive organization like theirs so easily? Tiffany wanted to argue, but she stopped when she remembered Stephen's warning. Forget it. I'm gonna go watch some TV before going to bed. When Tiffany turned on the TV, the evening news was being aired. This is the latest news from a reporter on the scene. After persisting in their investigation of the Black Dragon Guild for over a year, the police have officially deemed the case closed. The largest underworld organization in San Francisco has been destroyed in one night. The head of the Black Dragon Guild, Roland Adams, and his subordinate Keith were found dead at the scene. It appears to have been a crime of revenge. Jensen's jaw dropped as he watched the news. I heard Roland has the support of a powerful family in Washington, D.C. Who could have done this to him? How could he and Keith have died so suddenly? Maybe they provoked someone they shouldn't have. With Roland dead, the Black Dragon Guild would fall apart. The underworld would surely be in chaos without a leader. Tiffany was even more curious about Stephen. See? I told you Roland wouldn't make it to tomorrow. Who told him to order his lackey to kidnap me? He got what he deserved. Are you saying that everything that happened tonight was because of that man named Stephen? Jensen shook his head. Tiffany, I think you've been brainwashed. Meanwhile, Stephen was back at the hotel with Matthew and Stanley. Stephen, thank you for everything. I'll be your loyal subordinate for the rest of my life. Ever since the day Roland betrayed him,
Matthew had been dreaming of avenging his wife and his friends. Tonight, he had finally taken revenge with his own hands. "You don't have to be so polite," Stephen said. "I only helped you because your goals aligned with mine. Unfortunately, Stanley couldn't find Roland's account books." It seemed like the Addams family was cautious about their dealings with Roland. They didn't want to leave behind a single piece of evidence. Since this was the case, he could only lure them out of hiding. "Matthew, stay here and lead the Black Dragon Guild. You don't have to worry about money or manpower. Don't touch a single cent from the Addams family. If anyone from their family contacts you, let me know as soon as possible." Matthew agreed in a heartbeat. He had founded the Black Dragons Guild with Roland and many others. Although they were no longer in this world and many things had changed, he would take back his position as the leader and build up the organization again. Stanley stood off to the side with his head lowered. He silently berated himself for not being able to complete Stephen's task. Stephen looked at him. "Stanley, you'll be helping Matthew. Loyalty goes a long way." Stanley was stunned by his offer. "Thank you. I'll do my best." "Okay, don't disappoint me. I'll be heading back to Los Angeles tomorrow. If anything comes up, give me a call." It was almost time for him to pay the property fees. Helen and Natalie were probably looking forward to his return. The next morning, Jensen and Tiffany were having breakfast at home. "Tiffany, the city's been crazy after last night. Stay home for today." "No, I have something I need to give back to Stephen. Don't worry, I can take care of myself."
"He's the one person you should avoid meeting. Don't forget, you're engaged."
Jensen trailed off when he saw the look on her face. Tiffany fiddled with her fork. "I know, but there's still half a year left. I want to do as much as I can to make the most out of these 6 months. That way, I won't regret it when the time comes." 3 years ago, the powerful Logan family in San Francisco had forced the Meyer family into an arranged marriage. They had only given the Meyer family 3 years. When time was up, Tiffany would have 2 choices. She would either accept the marriage proposal, or everyone in the Meyer family would be killed. Jensen had always felt guilty for being powerless to change Tiffany's fate. "All right, I'm going to work now." When Jensen opened the door, he saw a young man standing at the entrance. He had hired 8 mercenaries to guard his home. How could anyone have broken in? "Who are you? How did you get in here?" "I'm Stephen Addams. As for how I got in, sorry, but your bodyguard was being very rude, so I took the opportunity to teach him a lesson." "Are you the son-in-law of the Cassidy family in Los Angeles?" Jensen didn't expect him to come looking for him. What was he trying to do? Stephen rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. He didn't know his reputation would spread this quickly in San Francisco. "Yes, that's me." Tiffany ran to the door when she saw Stephen. "Why are you here so early? I was going to look for you after breakfast." Stephen walked past Jensen and held out his hand. "I'm here for my phone. I'm going back to Los Angeles today." "What? Why are you leaving so soon? Will you come back to visit?" Stephen glanced back at Jensen. He looked at him like he was a burglar. "I don't know. Where's my phone?" "All right, I'll give it to you." Tiffany reluctantly handed over the phone. She wanted to ask Stephen to take her with him to Los Angeles. Before she could think of a way to ask, Jensen interjected. "Stephen, I don't know your background, nor do I know why you're trying to get close to Tiffany, but please recognize the difference in your status. Some people are out of your league." Stephen chuckled in response. When he turned around to leave, Jensen stopped him. He took out a pen and filled out a check before holding it out to Stephen. "Using $1 billion to get close to the Meyer family is too naive. I'll give you $1.5 billion. What will you do now?" Jensen wanted to use this chance to expose Stephen's ulterior motive so that his silly daughter would let him go. If Stephen took the check, he would be agreeing to stay away from the Meyer family. Tiffany was annoyed and signaled for him to stop talking. "Dad, Stephen's not like that." Jensen continued to ignore Tiffany. "Why are you hesitating? $1.5 billion is enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life." Stephen stared at the check. Sounds like it's worth it. Since you're being so generous, I'll accept. Tiffany was at a loss for words when he took the check. She refused to believe that he was this kind of person. Jensen heaved a sigh. Look, this is what he's really like. He approached you because of the money. While Jensen tried to talk sense into Tiffany, he subconsciously glanced at Stephen. He was rendered speechless when he saw him bend down and use the check to wipe his shoes. There's so much dust in this house that my $50 shoes are all dirty. In the blink of an eye, a $1.5 billion check issued by one of the top families in San Francisco had been rolled up and used to polish a pair of shoes. Jensen wanted to say something, but he didn't know where to start. He didn't think Stephen would be this shrewd at his age. It seemed like he couldn't let down his guard around him. See, Dad? I told you he's not like that. I'll see him off and come back. Tiffany ran after Stephen, who was already halfway through the gates. I'm sorry my dad misunderstood you, but I believe you're not doing this for money. It's okay. It's not like I really care. Stephen only considered Jensen to be his acquaintance's father. There was no need to pay too much attention to him. Tiffany jumped on his back and wrapped her arms around his neck. You're the best! Stephen was flustered because he didn't expect Tiffany to be so bold. Even though he and Kim had been married for 3 years, they rarely had such close contact with each other. What are you doing? Get down! If other people see us, they'll misunderstand. Who cares? This isn't Los Angeles. No one knows you here. Before Stephen could pull Tiffany's arms away, someone called out to her from the entrance. Is that who I think it is? The daughter of the Meyer family? Why are you being so disgraceful and lying on top of an unfamiliar man? Tiffany was so shocked that she immediately let go of Stephen. She was embarrassed to have been caught by someone from her rival family. What are you doing here, Nicholas? The young man in front of them was Nicholas Spence, the oldest son of the Spence family. They were one of the top families in San Francisco, and Nicholas would be the successor in the future. Nicholas grinned as he looked down at Tiffany. Why can't I be here? I was passing by when I witnessed you holding on to a strange man. What do you think Shane would think if I told him what I just saw? You and your family would be ruined. In recent years, the Spence family had expanded their influence at a fast pace. They had already become an existence that could threaten the Meyer family's status. Their families were rivals in the business industry, and the competition was fierce. Tiffany glared at him. Your Spence family is the same as the Logan family's dog. Without the support of the Logan family, your family would be nothing. But then, the reason why Shane had set his sights on her and forced her to marry him was because of Nicholas. Nicholas couldn't care less what Tiffany thought of him. To think you looked so pure and innocent on the outside. Who knew you had the courage to actually put the moves on another man in broad daylight? Stephen gave him a cold look, but he didn't say anything. On the other hand, Tiffany was fuming. She wanted nothing more than to tape his mouth shut. If you run your mouth again, don't think I won't teach you a lesson you'll never forget. Instead of wasting your time on that, you should think about how to explain yourself to Shane. Your family can't be compared to his. When Nicholas was about to leave, he noticed 2 people sweeping at the other end of the street. One of them was an elderly man, and the other was a pretty girl around 17 to 18 years of age. Nicholas went up to his friends and gestured to the girl. Hey, check her out. Let's take her somewhere to have fun. Tiffany was confused when Nicholas left in the middle of their conversation. Their families were always at odds, and he had witnessed her hugging Stephen. It didn't make sense for him to just leave without threatening her further. Tiffany walked past the gates and peered down the street. Nicholas and his friends were ganging up on an elderly man and a girl. When she turned around to ask Stephen to help, she discovered that he had disappeared. Nicholas and his friends shoved the elderly man to the ground. The girl tried to intervene, but they pushed her away and Nicholas laughed. Do you want us to stop? All you have to do is come with us. He glanced at his friends. Why are you all standing around? Let go of me. I'm not going anywhere with you.
It looks like if this old man doesn't, you won't come with us. In that case, I'll send him off." A chilling voice sounded behind him. "You'll if you step on him again." "Who are you?" Nicholas demanded. "You're interrupting our fun. I'll have you know that I'm the son of the Spence family." One of Nicholas's friends spoke up when he realized that Nicholas had no recollection of seeing Stephen 5 minutes ago. "That's the man who was with Tiffany." "Oh, so that was you." "Let her go," Stephen said. Nicholas hurriedly let go of the girl and held his hands up in surrender. "Okay, I've let her go." The girl ran to her grandfather, who was lying on the ground. She looked up at Stephen with tears in her eyes. "Please, call for an ambulance." Stephen crouched down and assessed the elderly man's condition. It was too late. He was already gone. Even if Colin were here, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Tiffany was concerned as she peered over Stephen's shoulder. "Can he be saved?" Stephen shook his head. "No, but I can avenge him." He stood up and flexed his hand. Tiffany grabbed Stephen's arm when she saw him reach for Nicholas. "Don't do it. It's easy, but there's no need for that." No matter how weak Nicholas was, he was still a member of the Spence family. If Stephen were to, every influential person in the city would come after him. Even though Stephen was strong, his life would still be at risk. Stephen glanced at Tiffany. "The world is vast, but I don't think there's many people who can match up to me." Even so, he lowered his arm and scanned the people on the streets. They were pointing at him and whispering to each other. If he were to get rid of Nicholas in public, his identity as the Grand Palace Master would be exposed. Moreover, according to Tiffany, getting the police involved wouldn't do much because of the Spence family's connections in the city. At most, Nicholas would spend a night in confinement at the police station before walking out scot-free the next morning. Stephen decided to let him go for now. There would be more opportunities later. Stephen planned on making a call to arrange for a funeral, but the girl, Alice, said she wanted her grandfather to be laid to rest at the cemetery in her hometown, not too far away from the city. After everything was taken care of, it was almost noon. "Stephen, thanks for everything you've done for me and my grandpa. Can I come with you?" Stephen and Tiffany exchanged a confused glance. "Why?" "Because you're a good person, and my grandpa's not here anymore, so I don't know where to go." Stephen looked at Tiffany for help. "Don't look at me. As things stand, the Spence family is more influential than the Meyer family, and I don't know how to fight. If Nicholas's family were to take Alice by force, I wouldn't be able to protect her." Tiffany anticipated the drama that would unfold once Stephen took Alice back to Los Angeles. Stephen sighed. "I won't be staying here. I'll be going back to Los Angeles soon." "That's okay," Alice said. "I'll go with you. My grandpa and I used to move from place to place. Now that he's gone, I don't have anywhere to go." "All right," Stephen responded casually, but he was worried about Kim's reaction. He had been away from Los Angeles for several days, and now he'd be coming back with a girl who appeared to be barely 17 or 18. How was he supposed to explain this to her? Late in the evening, Stephen arrived in Los Angeles with Alice. His first stop was Colin's house. He wanted an update on the Cassidy family's situation during the days he's been away. When Stephen pushed open the gates, he was surprised to see a crowd of people in front of the house. The person leading the group was none other than Helen. "The good-for-nothing son-in-law has finally returned," Harry said. "Do you know how long we've been waiting? Grandma has been waiting for you for more than an hour." Alice stepped out from behind Stephen and worked up the courage to defend him. "Don't talk about him like that. He's not a good-for-nothing." Harry stared at Alice. "Are you serious, Stephen? I didn't expect this from you. Where did you find this little girl?" Rebecca also scolded him.
Did you disappear for a few days just to get together with another woman? Are you not ashamed of yourself? How do you plan on facing Kim or our family for that matter? Helen raised her hand. Stop arguing. She gave Stephen a cold look. Don't embarrass yourself any more than you have to. Go home. Helen didn't wait for Stephen's reply. She led the rest of the family past the gates. In her opinion, telling Stephen to go back to the villa was already a valuable opportunity. There was no reason for him to decline. Stephen crossed his arms. Go back by yourself. Everyone stopped and turned to look at him. What did you just say? I can kick you out of the Cassidy family at any time. You'll never be able to see Kim again, Helen warned. Whatever, Stephen said as he turned away. That was up to him and Kim, not Helen. Stop right there. You can leave if you want to, but transfer me the property fees from the owner of Global Investment first. What property fees? I don't know what you're talking about. Stephen, what's with the attitude? Harry demanded. Don't think you're all that just because you have the support of a wealthy business owner. How dare you talk to Grandma like that? We're asking you for the property fees. You were the one who paid the balance last month. It's obvious that the owner of Global Investment gave you the money to pay it off. Where else would you have gotten such a large amount? Stephen looked over his shoulder. What a bunch of... he muttered under his breath. He turned around and faced Helen. Grandma, I can go back, but you have to promise me that in the future, everyone at the company, including you, will have to give Kim the respect she deserves. You can't brush her off without hearing her out. Are you threatening me? Have you gone crazy? Stephen shrugged. If you don't want to, then please leave. I drove for several hours to get here, so I'm tired. I don't have the energy for this. Before anyone could leave, a car drove up to the entrance. It was Kim and Natalie. So you were hiding in a place like this, Natalie said the moment she got out of the car. Do you know how many times the real estate company called over the past few days? Did you want to take the money for yourself? Kim didn't say anything. She looked past Stephen and frowned when she saw a girl standing behind him. Stephen quickly went up to Kim and greeted her. Kim, you're here too? This was the first time they'd seen each other in days. He had missed her. Helen interrupted them. Natalie, this is your family's plan to force me into a corner. I told Stephen to go home, and do you know what he said? He gave me a condition. He won't go back unless everyone here agrees to listen to Kim. Natalie glared at Stephen. The only thing he knew how to do was cause trouble for her. Mom, why would you think that? You were there when the real estate agent visited the house. I was in a bind because of the property fees. Fine, let's leave it at that for now. Kim, I suppose he will only listen to you. Tell him to go home and pay the fees. Helen's priority was to settle the sky-high property fees because neither she nor Kim's family could afford them. Natalie tried her best to persuade Kim. Your grandma's right. Tell him to go home and we'll talk about the rest later. Kim waved for him to come closer. Stephen, come here. I have something to tell you. She hesitated before finally making up her mind. Let's get a divorce. Everyone was shocked when Kim brought up divorce. Natalie pulled Kim's arm and whispered, Are you crazy? If you want a divorce, do it after you get the money back. We need to pay the fees. Stephen was silent as he processed her words. Kim, did I do something wrong? We're not compatible, so we should just go our separate ways, Kim said. Regardless of Stephen's financial status and how many times he had disappointed her and broken his promises, she could endure and look past everything. But not cheating. She couldn't tolerate her husband having an affair. Stephen nervously held Kim's hand. What's the matter? Is it because I wasn't here for the past few days? I had something to take care of in San Francisco, and I don't know how we're not compatible. Kim pulled her hand away and turned around to hide the tears in her eyes. When you have time, give me a call. We'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau and take care of the paperwork." Without looking back, Kim got in her car and drove away. Stephen watched her car disappear into the distance with a heavy heart. He couldn't understand where this was coming from. What had he done wrong? Natalie was afraid that Stephen would cut off contact without paying the property fees. "Even if you and Kim divorce, don't think about running away with the money. Hurry up and transfer me the money for the fees." Stephen shot her a glare before turning around and going inside. Alice ran after him. Helen looked at Natalie in disapproval. "What exactly is going on here? Didn't I tell you to get Kim to convince him to come back? Forget it. We can settle the property fees by yourself." Natalie massaged her temples. How was she supposed to come up with such a large sum of money? After Stephen stormed inside Colin's house, he took off his shoes and sat by the window, absent-mindedly staring at the greenery outside. Alice put a bowl of fruits on the table. "I washed some fruits. Do you want some?" "No." As Stephen watched the flowers sway in the wind, it dawned on him that something must have happened while he was away. But why didn't Kim give him a call? Stephen took out his phone and checked his call history. He sat up with a start. Kim had called him around midnight. Wait a minute. He didn't have his phone on him at that time. It was Tiffany. Stephen hurriedly scrolled through his contacts and found her number. Tiffany picked up on the first ring. "Were you worried about me the second you got back?" she teased. Stephen wasn't in the mood to joke around with her. He got straight to the point. "Did someone call me around midnight?" "No. I've been holding onto your phone since last night, and no one—" Tiffany remembered that she received a strange phone call when she was in the car. "Wait, some woman did call you. Her call woke me up, so I don't really remember the details. She didn't say much. She just asked me who I was." Stephen's heart sank. It must have been Kim, and she most likely misunderstood when Tiffany picked up instead of him. He also didn't get a chance to tell her about Alice, and that probably deepened the misunderstanding. After a long night, Stephen rushed back to the villa early the next morning. Kim sat at the dining table as he entered the house. He awkwardly took a seat across from her. Stephen didn't know how to break the ice, so he opted for stating the obvious. "Are you having breakfast?" Kim looked up at him. She was happy to see him, but she quickly composed herself. "Are you here because you want to rush to the Civil Affairs Bureau and get our divorce out of the way?" "No, Kim, I know why you're mad. When you called me the other day, Tiffany answered the phone." So it was Tiffany. I thought her voice sounded familiar. Did you leave this house just so you could live with her? "Kim, it's a misunderstanding. The truth is—" Stephen told Kim about Tiffany's kidnapping and how he was passing by and saved her. Of course, he conveniently skipped over the details that would reveal his identity. "Is that true?" Kim asked with a hint of doubt. "Yes, if you don't believe me, you can call Tiffany and ask her." "No, I'll take your word for it. In the future, don't ever leave like that again. This is your—" Kim lowered her gaze in embarrassment. "This is your home." Truthfully, the reason why Kim believed Stephen so easily wasn't just because she didn't think he would lie to her. It was also because she had seen Tiffany's kidnapping on the news. Stephen's face lit up. It felt like the sun was breaking through the clouds after a long night of thunderstorms. "Right, this is my home. I won't leave you again." Before they could continue their discussion, they heard Natalie's startled voice outside the house. She was coming home from her morning jog when she saw Alice standing around outside the door. "Who are you? Not just anyone can wander in here." Stephen had been so focused on explaining the situation to Kim that he forgot Alice was waiting for him outside. He hurried to the door and motioned for Alice to come inside. Natalie frowned when she saw Stephen. "Where did you come from? And is this your lover? It's obvious that she's coveting the Cassidy family's money. Let me tell you something. Don't think you can get rich just by getting along with Stephen. He's just a son-in-law in our family." Alice shook her head. "I'm not that kind of person." Ignore her. Come inside, Stephen said. He led Alice into the living room. Kim had been wondering who this girl was. She waited patiently for his explanation. This is my friend Alice. Her family is no longer here, so she'll be staying with us for the time being. Is this the girl you told me about? The one who was bullied? Stephen nodded. Why didn't you say so earlier? Kim patted the seat next to her. Come and sit down. Your name is Alice, right? This will be your home from now on. Alice took a seat and looked up at Kim in admiration. You're really pretty. I refuse, Natalie said. Is our home some kind of shelter? You don't agree? All right, pay the property fees on your own. I won't give you a single cent. Are you threatening me, Stephen? You. Natalie wanted to give him a long lecture, but when she thought about Helen's words from yesterday, she decided against it. They owed several million worth of property expenses. Do whatever you want, Natalie gritted out. She went back to her room. She would only be humiliating herself if she stayed here. Kim picked out one of the empty guest rooms for Alice. This is your room from now on. Do you like it? Yes, thank you. Alice was amazed by how luxurious the room was. She and her grandfather never had a permanent residence. This room reminded her of their small house in their hometown. Kim patted Alice's head. Stephen, I'm meeting a client later, but I don't have a good impression of him. I don't think it'll be a simple meeting. Can you come with me? Sure, who's your client? Peter Clark. Have you heard of him? He's from a famous family outside the city. Stephen recalled that Jack had told him that the head of the Clark family had been asking to see him for a while, but he had refused because there was no point in meeting a family that was only worth tens of billions of dollars. He's from the Clark family? I heard they're involved in the real estate industry. So you know about them too. Grandma told me that their family is searching for a business partner in Los Angeles, but the person they sent is Peter. I heard he's only interested in getting his hands on the women he targets. Don't worry, with me here, he wouldn't dare to touch you. The serious look on Stephen's face made Kim and Alice laugh. Alice, wait for me at home, Kim said. When we come back in the afternoon, I'll take you outside to buy clothes and other necessities. Stephen drove Kim to the hotel for their meeting with Peter. There were 2 bodyguards standing in front of his room. I'm sorry, but Mr. Peter only invited Miss Kim. If you're not letting him inside, then I won't be going in either. Even though they would be missing out on an opportunity for a collaboration, Kim couldn't cater to her client's whims. A dissatisfied voice sounded from inside the room. Let them in. One of the bodyguards opened the door and gave Stephen a warning. You had better be respectful during your discussion. Otherwise, don't blame us for using our fists. Stephen merely glanced at him before following Kim into the room. With a sneer, the bodyguard closed the door. I heard he's the useless son-in-law of the Cassidy family. As expected, the rumors were true. He acts like nothing happened after being talked down to. Peter flashed a smile when he saw Kim. He stood up and held out his hand. Welcome. You're as beautiful as the rumors say you are. Stephen stepped forward and shook Peter's hand in place of Kim. You're also the same as the rumors. Peter's expression darkened as he pulled back his hand. And you are? I'm her husband. I hope that clarifies me and Kim's relationship. Kim was glad to see Stephen standing up for himself, but she also worried he was provoking the wrong person. She nudged him as a warning. Oh, I know you. When I first came to Los Angeles, I heard people talking about you. From what I know, you don't have much of a reputation. Maybe so, but it's better than being known as some lustful beast. A tense atmosphere filled the room. Kim intervened before the situation could escalate. Stephen was coming on strong before the meeting had even started. If this continued, there would have been no point in coming here. Stephen, stop. I'm sorry, Mr. Peter. I invited my husband because we have other matters to attend after this meeting. I hope you don't mind. Of course not. Peter said with a smile. Having a married woman was even more exciting. He pulled out a chair and gestured for Kim to sit. Stephen didn't hesitate to take the seat instead. He pulled out the chair next to him. Kim, sit here. Peter had no choice but to swallow his anger and return to his own seat. Kim got straight to the point. The reason we came today is to... Peter cut her off and pushed a bottle of wine towards her. There's no rush. This is a bottle of XO. Before we get down to business, have a taste.
Hi, I'm Steven.
Want to know my secrets?
Then download the Pocket FM app and listen to the exciting episodes of Secret Succession now.